Now address the title of this video. The title of this video being something along the lines of this signal will mark the end of the crash. Now, I apologize for using the crash word. It's a little bit of a clickbait word right there. Ultimately, Bitcoin is, well, doing what Bitcoin does. And what do we have going on the short-term time frame? So make no mistake about it, we do have a descending triangle going on with our last lower high right around the 50,300 and so odd, and some odd territory right there. Also along the 55 on the 4-hour as well. And Bitcoin probably fills out this area a little bit more regardless of whether you're bullish or bearish, which would imply one more bounce off this 46,500-ish region, assuming that we don't get any sort of closures below on any time frame that actually matters right here. Now, if we do actually close below, there is a measure move to be played out to the downside first before anything else. That actually pointed all the way down towards about 43,000 bucks, which is rather interesting here because that would be in confluence with the weekly 55, as you can see as well, as that's a little bit above there. So anywhere between about 43 and 44 is kind of where I'd be looking for, and very likely a bounce off that region. That also would be confirmed as, or sorry, considered a wick fill of our prior massive December 4th dump right here. So that typically does happen. Technically speaking, we saw the same thing over here in September. We saw the same thing over here in May, getting tested once, getting tested twice right here, and then the reversal. This one only once, obviously, but these sort of areas are, having high probabilities of being filled over time, to be fair. So is it possible that Bitcoin breaks down? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, whilst you're in the context of a descending triangle, the probabilities are higher on a downside breakout. However, here's the thing, and to address this title once again, this signal will essentially mark the end of the crash, or essentially mark the next sort of major bounce and perhaps even reversal. Well, first and foremost, for the short-term time frames, we're going to work our way up here from least important to most important, although they will all have relationships with each other. But short-term time frames, as long as Bitcoin is below this last lower high right here, there is no talks of any sort of bullish bullish short-term reversal. We'll put it that way. Now, if Bitcoin can pop back above that 50,300 number on a 4-hour closing basis, or just a wick higher than what you saw over here on the 12th of December at 50,785, then I would be looking for a full-on move all the way up to 54,000 bucks. This area has great significance, however, the reason being because that is directly in line. If I can pull up the right and proper chart, it's going to be directly in line. Where's my damn charts? Charts, please show yourself. Hey, where's my actual charts? All right, well, whatever. We can just, I have it here somewhere. I know I do. This is so bizarre, man. Here we go. There, no, that's also not it. Okay, well, I guess I'll just redo it. It's simple enough anyways. And what do we have right here? Well, we do have something like this going on. So I'm going to take the low of this dump. I'm going to go to the high of this dump. And as you can see, we do see that if I actually do this properly, that'd be good. Maybe I could actually get that properly done. There we go. Okay, 54,000 bucks would be the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement right there. And of course, that is also our October and November consolidation before the big bad breakdown. So we have big structure right there, and also a big fib as well. So as long as Bitcoin's below there, I don't really have any major talks of of a major reversal going on. Personally speaking, I do think that getting back above that level would be rather significant. The reason being is because it would confirm the weekly as a local low, and if this is a local low on the weekly, that would be a higher low compared to our September lows right here. The uptrend remains as we already have, a higher high. And of course, we also would have hidden bullish divergence on the weekly RSI right here as we are making lower lows as of right now. But again, this is not the most likely thing to be happening, again, as long as Bitcoin is caught within this little formation that we got going on right here. Here's the thing though, if Bitcoin can do that, then we will fulfill a few conditions that I would say are rather important over here on CME chart. These conditions relate to the daily stochastic momentum oscillator right here, of which we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, working on number 8 iterations of the same signature. The signature is anytime it comes down to the green horizontal bar right here, those are related to these blue vertical bars, as you can see, and they all have marked off some pretty significant bounces, even within the context of a pretty damn heavy bearish market. And when I say heavy bearish market, I mean a weekly downtrend is the key criteria of that. And right now, we actually don't have that. So that is rather significant in my opinion. And more importantly, to take this one step further, you can see that we have a very specific signature going on right here. We get this first test down to the green bar. Yes, bounces up. Okay, rejection, come back down. And we're basing off that same area again, it does look like. Now, we've seen this a couple times in Bitcoin's past. The last time we saw this was actually March in 2020. Same thing over here. Bounces off the green bar, comes back down, bases on it, and then boom, up. Guess where that was? That was right fucking here before going from basically 5,000 all the way up to, kind of where we're at right now. Within the context of a massive ascending triangle, I should denote. And the other time that we saw this same sort of signature was coming back on over here from December 2018 off of the massive 2018 dump, of course, putting in the $3,100 low. And what do you know? Comes once, bounces, bases off it twice, and actually thrice, and then that is your last, major macro low for essentially, or presumably, the cycle, unless there's something drastically nasty happens. I guess anything's possible, of course. And what do you know? Another ascending triangle on the lows over here. Well, if we go to our current time, well, what do we have? We have the same sort of thing going on. Bitcoin based off this area, we are going to have a chance to actually bounce off it yet again. That criteria will be met, and this is the next sort of major thing that I'd be looking for to give the Bulas a little bit of hopium here. Will be met with any sort of a closure today on CME specifically, not spot price action, although we can go there soon enough, above 48,500. If that happens, then yes, I am looking for very likely the short-term timeframes to reverse, and then Bitcoin very likely does get a test all the way up to its $54,000 critical level. That is the major one, at least in my opinion. As long as Bitcoin's below there, it's technically, well, it's not that it's technically not bullish. It quite literally is not bullish. There's nothing bullish about it. And if you want to be super conservative, you'd be using $59,000. The reason being is that's your last major lower high that you did see way back on over here in late November, of course. Now, I want to take this one step further because you did notice that there was an ascending triangle right here and an ascending triangle right here on those same formations. Well, we would be baking in one massive ascending triangle right here if that comes to fruition. So today's closure, and I imagine tomorrow night's as well, are going to be massive, are going to be absolutely massive here because we will get, we'll essentially get clarity on whether this is going to happen or not. Now, this is not just the daily, it's also the 2-day as well. The 2-day will, not to be confused with today, but the 2-day will be closing today, actually. It will be, sorry, so I did get that wrong. With any sort of a closure above 50,300 or so. So here's the thing. We have a big economic event coming in tomorrow. That's going to be the FOMC meeting. I imagine that we see this resolved by then. If you're going to see these signals come to fruition, those are going to be probably the early tells that it is going to be priced in, or at least we're going to see a probably more, asset supporting narrative from the Fed rather than an inflation narrative, which probably means they're going to start to taper a lot faster and stop supporting the market with all of this liquidity being added into the reverse repo markets, which is probably the biggest reason why Bitcoin's rallied to begin with, and probably all markets to be fair. So with all of that in mind, that's kind of what I'm watching right now, of course. And again, on the shorter term time frames, no more complicated than this. We do have a descending triangle, obviously. As long as you're caught within the context of that, it is bearish. As long as Bitcoin's below 50,300, there is no talks of any sort of even relevant short term, medium term reversal. And of course, if the daily on CME closes above 48,500, that'd be the next sort of interesting signal that I'd be looking for to denote that Bitcoin is going to have a chance to put in a bit of a bear trap right here and do something relatively similar to what we saw back on over in late September, where we actually had something very, very similar here, that being a descending triangle on the lows after a pretty nasty drop off. In fact, I think even on a percentage base, this one was rather similar. Sorry, no, not even remotely similar in this case. Apologies on that. Only 25% down, only 25% down there, but basically same sort of formation going on right here. And right now you'd kind of be looking for something like this, where you bounce off the lows, pop back up, put in a higher low, and then upwards and onwards above your descending trend line right there. If you can see something like that, that's going to be pretty damn good. Until then, though, Bitcoin is bearish and more likely to break down than not. If you are thinking in terms of probabilities, I would just offer up that possibility because we have a similar setup towards that, and we do have a few indicators that do suggest that, hey, we're kind of at a major area right here, and it's time to be a little more on the defensive, especially with an economic event coming up. So hopefully that was helpful, and there you go, and lovely.